Welcome. This is Dr. John DeMartini. This is one of the most amazing and inspiring shows that you can listen into. If you want to be on the edge of your seats, if you want to open up your heart, if you want to expand your mind, and you want to meet incredible people, stay tuned because you're just about to experience a transformative radio show that will change your life. And you're listening to the Dr. Pat Show that's coming up right next.
Welcome to the Dr. Pat Show. Talk radio to thrive by. Powerful, inspiring, and coming to you live, bringing you stories of people like you and me, busting through and living life full out. Get ready to dare to wonder what your life would be like if you knew you could not fail. Hey, everybody. Welcome. It's so great to have all of you tune us in and turn us on. This is going to be a great 2 hours for all of you out here. For me, it's 1 hour with Emma Farrell. And it's talking about something. Benny, you're going to relate to this. It's talking about something that this girl from New York City, the Bronx, probably never imagined in a million years that I would be able to have a halfway intelligent conversation with Emma Farrell. Just like even like a little bit of a conversation, just a little bit. And when you grow up in a place where your dad takes a look at the yard, so this is my yard here, you all can't see it, but if you were looking over there, you'd see this yard. And you'd see I put little gardens over there and I got a gardener. My dad got one of his buddies to bring in a cement truck and cemented all the grass. But the minute I started to do this show in 2003, and even before that, I had experiences with one of my mentors, an incredible woman. And my first trip into the desert where I thought there was nothing in the desert that actually lived. And then I was shocked to see what the plant life in the desert is really like. But here's what is so exciting about Emma and her book, Journey with Plant Spirits. Here's what I love about how Linda sets people up for the show. So I'm just going to hold up the book for a minute right there. And Jacob, you've got pictures of the book, yeah? Okay. When you come down with a mystery disease, like I did, and I have to call it a mystery disease, and I know my healing friends are going to like email me and like, don't say disease. But when your body starts to break down and the regular things, let's just call it conventional medicine. I don't know what else to call it. But when those things don't work, and you happen to live in the Pacific Northwest, the home of Bastyr University, Dr. Darvish, all the people that practice natural medicine, all the people like our friends that own an herbal store, you take a walk on a pathway that enables me to be so excited about Emma's book. Because what I discovered along the way to becoming who I am today is that if we don't believe we can communicate and work with plants and tree spirits and can do it for not just healing, but our personal development, our spiritual connection, our inner peace, then boy, we are missing on the majestic, absolutely majestic energy of the universe that was given to us in such an abundant gift. We're missing out. So any chance I get to do a show like this, I'm all over it. I want you to meet Emma, plantconsciousness.com, plant spirit healer, shamanic teacher, co-founder of groundbreaking London event Plant Consciousness. You're going to hear why in today's world, her message and her book has never, ever, ever been more important. Emma, it's great to have you.
Oh, thank you, Pat. That was a beautiful introduction. And thank you for inviting me onto your show. It's an honor.
And I'm not kidding. If you'd have come on when I first started the show in 2003, I probably wouldn't have some of the questions I have. But when I'm away, like I've been away for about 4 weeks now, back with family, And I say to Jessica, please don't forget to water my plants. Please don't forget to talk to the plants, water the plants. They hear you. Everybody looks at me like I've lost my mind. But somewhere along the way, we get tapped by the energy of this. And I want to know from you, in your own words, in your own journey, something about this passion and purpose you have for helping us all understand this better touched your heart. I don't know if it touched it by something traumatic, or were you just born to love the green?
Well, I think we all are, aren't we?
I hope we remember that.
Well, that's the perfect point. When we start to open ourselves up to the natural world in this kind of consciousness way, and this understanding that there is a cross species communication that's possible, we're actually just remembering it. We're not actually creating something new. That's why it can touch certain people in certain ways, because they've probably had past lives where they've done that, or, you know, got indigenous lineages, or just simply that our ancestors just used to live in such a much more symbiotic way with nature. And so for me, I had to live in the desert myself for 9 years to realize, oh, I really miss nature, and I was getting quite sick and depressed. And then when I'd fly home to my mum's in France, and I'd be on all this lush, beautiful environment, I suddenly would be enlivened again. And it just kind of struck me how important nature is. And so because I've been on a spiritual path most of my life, I've been a meditator since I was 14, and I've been a seeker of truth. I've always wanted to find out what makes me tick. I've always felt like I was boxed in my mind. So I studied Buddhism and meditation to understand myself better, because I felt that I wasn't operating or functioning to my full capacity or potentiality. And so once I was kind of on that path and deeply on that path then, and realized that I really needed nature, I realized that actually, you know, you can speak to nature. And I had some quite profound experiences with some stronger plants. And this just opened me up to the idea of communicating with all of nature and all of plants and trees. And once I did, I realized that actually this is our true spirituality. There isn't any name for it, really. You know, we have to label it, but, you know, there isn't any name for it. It's just who we are. We're part of nature. We are nature. And so nature is our direct connection to source, because it is the pure expression of Mother Nature and of source energy. And so I suddenly didn't need all the dogma from the Buddhist tradition, etc., which even, you know, the essence of it is so beautiful. But I could just talk directly to to spirit in my back garden. And that was the beauty of it for me. I realized that we've lost such a deep connection to nature, but we can all do it in our backyard.
I love this. And not only do I love what you just shared, because this is such a message for our time. You know, I spend a lot of time, I coach women, but I spend a lot of time, you know, sometimes not breathing and hitting the pause button. I talked about this yesterday on the show. The magic of hitting the pause button and reveling in the nature bound beauty and power that is around us. And I was really struck by this in preparing to talk with you, because as I was reading the book again, I hit so many different things that I did want to touch upon that I missed the first time through the book. And that is the magic of this, and how the magic of this has been in so many thousands of years of our ancestry and our lineage. I mean, I was really struck by I really had fun with the part of the book where you talk about the Celtic traditions, and which has become extremely popular these days. But in the end, you talk about operating from wholeness. And it's so hard to imagine, right, Emma, how well we have gotten gotten away from wholeness. You know, we could spend time in our society in any given day and not take a moment to take off our shoes and walk on the grass just for 20 seconds, or not even think about it, how powerful, in your words, and of course in the many words in your book, how powerful is our journey with plant spirits? What can we learn from what we've learned and perhaps forgotten?
Well, the first thing really is on the inward journey is to look at ourselves. And so it's very easy to want to get answers for what's going on in the world. But actually, what the plants teach is that our external world is a reflection of our inner world. And so whatever's happening in our life is a reflection of what's happening to us on our inner planes. And so the beauty and magic of plants is that they reflect our consciousness back at us. So you can ask the plants and the trees anything, and they will tell you the truth. It's probably the last bastion of truth we've got left in this world, are the plants and the trees and the mountains and the rivers. And so we can, if we've got an issue, if we've got an emotional issue, if we're suffering with kind of some depression, or we're suffering with frustration or anger issues, or whatever the issue is, there'll be an answer for that in nature, because each plant or tree carries its own unique frequency, its own collection of frequencies. And so in the book, it teaches you how to look at this energetic framework, or this mixture of frequencies within each plant and tree, so you can understand which tree will be good for you according to what issue you've got.
I love this. I want to make sure everybody here, I want to make sure you all know you can find out specifically about the book by going to the website Journeys with plantspirits.com. That's one way. The other way to really look at this is to go directly to Emma's site. And I want to make sure you have that, because it is like amazing. You can subscribe to her newsletter and just be on top of what she's sharing. And so you can decide. It's plantconsciousness.com. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, what do you want to know? Is there a plant energy or a plant spirit you want to find out more about? I know there's one for me. There's actually two for me. 1-800-930-2819, or type your question over in Facebook, and Jacob or Olivia will make sure we get it. But have you wondered why you're drawn to something? And it could be something even like a tincture. And there's a very specific tincture I'm drawn to. My naturopath doesn't understand it, but she doesn't fight with me anymore. When we come back, are our plants talking to us, with us, in advance of a remedy we may need? That's what Emma's going to talk about when we come back. Everybody, let's take a short break. We'll be right back. Hey, everybody, welcome back. Okay, great book, Journeys with Plant Spirits. I have 3 copies, Penny, to give away. Olivia, if you're monitoring social media as well, I want to get at that right away. 1-800-930-2819. And I just want to give a shout out for generosity from our friends at Inner Traditions, and especially Manzanita. Thank you, Manzanita, who knows us very well, for, first of all, inviting Emma to join on the show today, because we're in a time now where we really do need to look at and embrace some of the wisdom traditions, I believe. And your book, it doesn't really leave much untouched, but I want to get back. I know later on I want to talk about the plant medicine wheel, so definitely that. But I want to get back to something I said before the break. And that is, can we take time to really lean into what we resonate with? During the break, I shared my roses with you, and a particular color. And everybody that knows me knows that I've got to have roses around. I don't know why. I don't know where it comes from. I don't know the energy of them. I just know that there's something about them. The other thing for me is, I also mentioned to you, I don't care what form it comes in, I must have a past life with juniper. But
Well, it
isn't
could be
this sort of a
worse.
normal thing to do? Isn't this, see, we think it's abnormal to relate to things like this, but your book says it's so natural, right?
Yeah, it's all about resonance. When we work with plants and trees, the whole thing is about resonance and frequency. So when you get attracted to a particular plant or flower, it feels like it's calling you. And so there might be something in, we have to pay attention. It's all about paying attention to the detail and the more subtle things that come to us. That's the more shamanic side of things. But also, when we work with essences, flower essences, sometimes it's just you take the essence, the one that you resonate with, the one that's kind of jumping out at you, and so yeah, and then of course we can have past lives where we're very connected to certain, especially trees. Oak is a really strong connection for me. I seem to connect to that tree very easily, and so I think, well, I must have a karmic connection to that tree. So of course, why not?
I want to just pick up on something in your book. May I read this from your book? Would you mind?
Of course.
If I read this? I just want to tell everybody that's going to get a copy of the book, and we're giving 3 copies of away right now, 1-800-930-2819. And Charlene, go ahead and call in again. And I want to just read this, and it comes right before becoming the plant medicine wheel, right? And I love this. I actually wrote it down to remind myself. And what you say is, the mantra of plant spirit healing is to know thyself in all aspects and dimensions, in every moment of every day, to live a full and deeply meaningful life. Knowing yourself means having the awareness of both your ancestral lineage, where your genes come from, and your spiritual lineage, the trajectory that your eternal self has taken to arrive to this present moment.
So we're a combination of both of those things. Our genes, where do our genes come from? Who are our ancestors? What's our family name? But then our soul has taken a different trajectory, perhaps, and perhaps we have been our ancestors as well. So that's where they can kind of cross over. But our soul, where is the beginning? Where have we come from? There's a lot of kind of interest in off-planet star origins at the moment, isn't there? But there are people who come from different dimensions and interdimensions, the other world, for example. And so we can go back to our mythological past with this, if you want, to go that far back. But at least when I'm talking about know thyself, it's just at least know what are your significant past lives, because they are the power that you bring into this life. They are the kind of probably the main karmas you have to deal with in this life. And so just exploring our present self and where our blockages are, we can understand ourselves, because we are a result of all of those things. So just by looking at ourselves in the present moment, we can understand ourselves in our past as well.
I'm starting to do that more and more, but I love the way that you presented the invitation in this book. And especially, and there's so much more in the book I could read from, but I needed to get to this part to kind of set this up for the medicine wheel. And Charlene, we're going to get right to you. Charlene's one of our callers, because one of the things you say that I'm an underliner, like I underline and I write on books. Mystery is what lies at the depth of the human soul. Without mystery, would not be driven to uncover the truths that lie beneath the layers of dust in the attic of our mind. It is such a powerful statement. And if we could take maybe only 5 minutes a day to really take that in, what can we imagine, Emma? How would our lives perhaps change? What would be some of the insights we might get to get rid of lack and scarcity and just know we are so coddled in so many ways?
Well, if we really stripped back and shone the torch into all those kind of dark recesses of our mind and stripped away all those fears and doubts we have about ourselves, and we start to look at our eternal spirit, that soul aspect, that eternal aspect of ourselves, then we realize how truly amazing we are, and we wouldn't have half of the problems that we have in the world, because we are all angelic, we're all divine, we're all very, very powerful, and we've just been we've been squashed, and we've forgotten over the eons of time we've been here and reincarnated here. But yeah, if we can really work with the plants to help show us these dusty corners, then we can really do some transformational work. And that's the beauty of the plants. They help us to kind of have these evolutionary leaps.
Yeah, we're going to talk a lot more about that, but I want to go to the phones. I want to just, Benny, is it okay? Can we bring Charlene on before the break, please?
She's there. Go ahead.
Hi, Charlene. Welcome to the show. How can we help you today? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to both of you, to everybody. I actually collect, there's two specific plants, and I was just wondering, this book is really exciting because, I'm so drawn to plants, but these are my favorite plants, and I'm going to be buying some more today. But the bonsai and the money tree, I just love them. I usually have two in the house at all times.
Okay. What was your question?
Would you like to know more about them, or what's attracting you?
Yeah, I'd like to know more about especially the bonsai,
Okay.
because they are pretty picky. You have to know how to keep them alive and stuff, but the energy that comes from it.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, bonsais are quite, they're not the most happiest plants, unfortunately, because they've been kind of constricted. And then there's many types of bonsai, aren't there? There's many types of trees that are and plants created into bonsai, but because they've not been allowed their true expression and their true to express their true gesture, then they're kind of really constricted. So you might find if you want to talk to your plant, you might find it's quite difficult to talk to the bonsai, that it doesn't really speak or communicate that well. Because they're not the happiest plants. You might have a bonsai that is very happy. I'm not saying this, it's not a stereotype. We can't stereotype plants either. However, with your money tree, then this will be a much more talkative plant, I imagine. And although I've not worked with money plant myself, it's very easy to just kind of sit down and just get yourself into a nice meditative state, a calm, sink into your heart. We communicate to plants through the heart. So really make sure you think about something you're really grateful for, and that gets you beautifully into the heart. And then just see what happens. Just allow yourself to open up to the money plant and see what it says. And when we have plants that are used to being around humans, and money plants really are, because they've been worked with for good luck and abundance, etc., then the spirit of the plant is much more talkative and communicative. So you should find it fairly easy to communicate. So good luck.
You know what I'm really struck by with both of those two plants, and we could talk about this a little bit. My understanding of both plants is they're Asian. They come from the Asian culture. And I'm using that very broadly because it's a very broad, but there's a Chinese money plant, and I don't know which one you have. But it's so fascinating that out of all the plants Charlene could have selected, this is what really gets me excited, right? If they truly come from that culture, I wonder what Charlene's relationship is with that culture. You see what I'm saying, Charlene?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Our ancestors.
That would be something.
My money tree has grown to almost 6 feet tall.
Whoa.
One of them, and I just got another one. So my money tree is very happy.
Wow. It's fascinating. We're going to talk about this when we come back. I'm going to leave this odd note. I'm going to let Emma think about this. I have a really abundant, we call it a spider plant. I don't know why we call it that, but it's called that. And it has so many little babies on it. And somebody said to me the other day, I'm not surprised. Aren't you the one that won't kill spiders? Aren't you the one that will pick a spider up and take a spider outside, even if you have to walk 30 feet to do that, Pat? Isn't that you? Now, I don't know the relationship between a spider and that plant. I just find it now more interesting to explore what Emma calls the mystery, because there's a curiosity to know oneself. Out of all the plants that I have, and I have quite a few, that one just unbelievably just wants. As a matter of fact, when I came back, I had a couple of people over and they just like, I got to cut the babies off here. You got to give us some of your babies. When we come back, what are you relating to? But more importantly, how do we take this energy, as Emma has done so beautifully in the book? I love this part of the book. When we come back, Charlene, get ready for this. We're going to talk about the medicine wheel. We're going to talk about the plant medicine wheel, which we don't really talk about ever. But Emma's got this going on. Stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back. I'm just going to, Jacob, you don't mind if I do this. I know Jacob and Olivia, you all are producing the video, the TV version of this, but I just want to hold this up. Okay. And then when you go to, there are two websites, actually, Emma, let's give them both websites. I know Inner Traditions has put up a website just for the book, but then I really want people to connect with you, because what you've created is a forum. And if they subscribe to your newsletter, there's just so many ways that people can continue to learn about the power of this. Would you mind sharing how people can do that with you, please?
Yeah, sure. So on plantconsciousness.com, I've got various ways in which people connect with me, depending on what they're looking for. So I've got an online course where they can just kind of learn how to put the book into action through kind of video teachings. I've got a healing service where I can help people. I do healings for my clients and clearings with my plant spirit team. And then I've got an apothecary where you can experience the plant spirits for yourself through vibrational plant remedies. So, yeah.
And I want to just, when you go to plantconsciousness.com website, there's a way for you to look at the other publications. You could also look at one of my favorite to really talk about. We're going to get into this right now when we talk about, the plant medicine wheel, energy field clearings. And, there's so much that we can learn from this. But in addition to that, you're going to be able to look at shamanic training, remote healings. Please just go there and just take a look. There's just so many things, not to mention it's a beautiful site, just beautiful site. I want to know what the plant is on your site. I want to know what that image is.
That's mugwort. And this is the spirit of mugwort here behind me. So mugwort, Artemisia vulgaris. So sage is Artemisia tridentata. And so we have our native Artemisia is mugwort. Okay. So she's one of my main allies and main plant spirits, and she's amazing.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah.
I want to talk. And I know that I want you to speak, really, pretty much for the rest of the show. I was struck by the chapter 6, becoming the plant medicine wheel, because it goes on. And as I went on and I looked at it and I went back, and thank you. I cannot thank you enough for putting a chart in the book. Sorry.
I'm a Virgo, so I like charts and boxes.
Yes, I thought of you and Linda. Linda's like a triple Virgo. I'm a quadruple Sagittarius, so I don't even know why I asked that.
I'm triple Virgo too.
This would be a spreadsheet Linda would put together. But I love it because as I was reading through, I wanted to ask you, what led you to discover / create / become the voice for this powerful plant medicine wheel. And I say powerful because I've been doing this since 2003, and I've read a lot of books, but this is the first time that I've picked something up and I've seen that there's a way for me and others to integrate the individual things that they may have into this very powerful medicine wheel. How did this come to you?
I've just had great teachers, but I've also been practicing it continuously for 10 years before I even wrote the book, and doing a lot of inner work and working with the plants continuously. So yeah, I learned a lot just from tuning into the native traditions of my islands, the British Isles.
Yeah.
We have a really rich culture of magical traditions, of shamanic, Celtic shamanic tradition, and folklore and the other world. And so, when I'd lived overseas for about 15 years, when I got back and it was the land that called me back, I just came back and sank back into the land and just consumed a lot of plants and just spent a lot of time with them, learned how to, I had a great teacher like Pam Montgomery, who is based in Vermont. And she taught me how to do plant diets where you spend a certain amount of time with a particular plant, just consuming that plant, and then putting it into the context of the medicine wheel. So we into the context of ritual. And so when we approach the plants, our common native plants, through this ritualistic process, they come alive. They really, you enter into a really dynamic process with them when you work with the medicine wheel and this ritualistic and ceremonial process.
It is ceremonial. One of the things you say in the book, and I apologize in advance if I misquote it because I couldn't find the exact words, is that you talk about the medicine wheel layout, and thank you, because it is Celtic, and or at least that's what I read. You talk about it creating, I believe you call it the foundation of sacredness, sacredness,
sacredness,
yeah, sacred, right?
Yeah.
Can we talk about that for a minute? Because my first vision quest, my mentor was very clear about how to create the wheel. Not nitpicky clear, but when you enter it, make sure you close the door. Now, I'm not going to take time during this show to talk about what that experience was like, but I had never experienced anything quite like that. Can we talk about the importance of foundational sacredness?
Yeah, so we've forgotten what sacredness is in the West. And so when we get back to these indigenous practices where you immerse yourself in them, we can start to come back into our integrity, our true integrity, back to our true self. And we ourselves are sacred. But the plants teach us that by approaching them in this sacred way, this really respectful way, this nurturing way, this that they really don't let us get away with anything. We get told off if we're not being in our integrity and not being respectful. Then it really helps us get back into the parts of ourselves that we've lost. And so what the medicine wheel does is that when you open a sacred space and you call in those 7 directions, which is a tradition, that in many cultures, you're calling in all of the known universe. You're calling in all that is, basically. And so what that does is it amplifies the energy in which you're sat, but it also makes it a safe space for you. So if you understand the directions and the qualities of the directions, so we've got air in the east, and that's all about the mind, and it's very all about fluidity, and it's the birds live in the east and the air, etc. And so they carry the quality of the air element. Then you move down to the south and you've got the fire element, and so each of the plants as well, they carry these qualities and they express these elements and directions and qualities of these directions in their own unique way. And so we can bring in the plants to protect and learn how to work with the plants to create this medicine wheel and build up this medicine wheel of plant allies, so that we can build a stronger and stronger space, so we can do stronger and deeper inner work and deeper transformation. So the deeper you go and the more you work with the medicine wheel in this way, that just the more your inner landscape expands, the more you understand yourself better, the more you understand your place in the world better, and the more you understand your power better, and your true power, and your sacredness, like you say. We're all divine.
I love talking about this, and I want to really talk a little bit more detail about the medicine wheel. There's so much more in the book as well, and I want to make sure we mention it. One of the things we talk about is awakening, or you talk about in your book, awakening mythos or awakening, and then an emotional balance. So you not only give us this aspect for us to incorporate in our daily lives, but you take us through philosophies throughout the book to help us understand. Now, why is this important to me? When I moved into this house in May, it was a very unexpected move. I didn't expect to move ever. When I moved here, they could not, my friends who were moving in boxes and boxes of things, did not understand how absolutely focused / obsessed I was with the land, and how I kept talking about, I'm going to put a sacred garden and altar there. And then I'm going to plant there. And then in the front, I'm going to do there. And they just looked at me and thought, you got to be kidding. We have a truck filled with stuff that's got to go in a house that we don't know where to put it. And you're planting gardens. After reading your book, here's what I realized, and maybe you can help all of us with this. I don't know that I was planting gardens. Each of the places that I ultimately did things, they were in different directions. I didn't say that. So I just want to be clear. I didn't say, that's the east, that's what I'm going to do. I didn't go through that process, or that's the west, or over in the east, I'm going to put Mother Mary over there. I didn't do it. How much of our inner knowing gets ignited? And I don't mean just I woke up today, but our past lives. See, I want to get back to what you said, because both the medicine wheel and then the philosophies you share with us, they seem to ignite things. Can you talk to that?
Yeah, so a couple of different things to say there is that the more you work with plants and the more you recognize and learn more about yourself, the more you clean your energy field, because our energy field is our mind. The mind, body, energy field, it's all one. I know we separate them out, but it's all one. And so the more that we do with the plants, the more we rewild ourselves, then the cleaner and higher vibration is our energy field. And so therefore, the sharper is our intuition. The more in contact with our intuition we are, the more in contact we are with our higher self, because there's not those blockages there in the energy field to prevent that intuition and those connections and messages and inspirations coming through. So that's one thing. And so the more we work with plants, the stronger that becomes. So we can just operate from this place of higher mind without even really realizing it. It just becomes normal. And so what you were doing is just tuning in just to your higher self. It's just like, oh, that's what I'm going to need. It doesn't have to be rational. It doesn't have to be kind of logical. It just is. And it's all fine. And then the other thing is that we receive inspiration from the plants and trees themselves as well. So especially plants which are solar plants like St. John's wort or the oak, these are plants that are associated with the sun. And so they're associated with inspiration and creativity and the light of joy. And so these are all very uplifting and joyous, inspirational things that can come to us. So yes, it comes from the plants, and then it comes from ourselves as well.
There's something, I'm reading your book, and I will say this, is something that I become more and more aware of as I look back, especially moving in here. I had to make sure that what I planted was watered. I mean, what do I mean by that is, it wasn't going to be okay for me to let a day or two go by to a plant I just planted that I knew I had to water. So I would water. And it's kind of an odd thing, because a lot of times in the summer, we don't water things. We just let things die. I didn't overuse the water, but I was so drawn to make sure in the front that I planted an evergreen or some type of evergreen. Now, my backyard, you can't see it. Beautiful evergreen. I got a tree. I got 3 trees out here. I can't even imagine how old these trees are. But there's something about the energy of this that is healing. And that's what I found. Your book talks to that. I got a question that just came in from June. Thank you, June. Thank you for your question. And it's actually two-part question. It's great. Could you, I'm like you, Dr. Pat. Everybody abbreviates, so I apologize. I'm like you, Dr. Pat. I'm afraid of making a mistake. Can you ask Emma, you? Okay. Is there a wrong way to do a medicine wheel? Am I making it too big? Am I making it too small? I don't know where I picked up these phobias. But can you give us some guidance on how to go about this? And if there are guidelines? I love that question.
Yeah, well, you can't really go wrong, to be honest. But you just have to make sure that it's manageable for you. So everybody's got a different amount of space. So you could just actually create a medicine wheel on a small, if you've only got a small table, for example, just to get an altar cloth and create a medicine wheel in small size. I've got a nice big, a kind of a 2 meter by 2 meter medicine wheel that I use for my retreats. And an altar cloth with a medicine wheel printed on it. So there are lots of, it's beautiful, lots of ways to do this. And you can mark out your medicine wheel with crystals, if you like, or with objects from nature, like acorns or bits of plants. And so you can build it that way. So it really depends on how much room you've got. But actually, whenever we're working in a magical way, and this is a magical system that we're working with, it's really what we resonate with, what feels right for us. So you have a different medicine wheel in the States to what we have in the Celtic. It's similar, but slightly different because you've got a different topography, you've got a different kind of culture, etc. So your medicine wheel is slightly different, and that's okay, because that's it's for you, it's your tradition. You just will place things differently on the medicine wheel. And so there isn't a right and wrong way to do it per se. It's not like the Celtic medicine wheel is the only medicine wheel everyone should use. Not at all. People use their own magical systems. It's what's right for you. What is going to manifest for you is what you resonate with and what you've created.
And I want to address the second part of this, because if you get the book, in the second part of the book, that what you've done is you've listed, I think, 13 plants and tree spirits. And as I went through this, I was really struck. I mean, I got to dandelion and you had me. But I went through and I just thought, oh my gosh, this is so beautifully powerful. And yet I was struck by the ease by which we could call this in and do it. That's the way you wrote the book, by the way. You wrote it in a way that we don't have to have a PhD in this.
Yeah, for sure. This is part of our birthright. This is part of who we are. And again, when we work with the plants and we clean up our energy field, it doesn't just sharpen our intuition, it sharpens our clairvoyancy. So, I can see the plant spirits on my inner eye. And so I can speak with them and communicate with them. And so they appear to me in lots of different ways that I've explained in the book and their descriptions, etc. But they teach me. And so what I've put in the book is what they've taught me and how I can work with them. So you might work with dandelion and I might work with dandelion, and dandelion will teach us different things about its healing qualities and how it could help us individually. And it could be quite different. And so it really is a process of discovery and kind of a co-creation between you and the plant spirit, rather than, just using a plant to help you heal from something. It's a co-creation, and between you can create something really magical and beautiful that's unique as well.
And part of what you also talk about in the book is the symbolic nature of things, and I think that's also powerful. I want to ask you, I know we've only got a few minutes left, but I'm very struck by how in our pop culture right now that we are so bringing forward Celtic traditions. Now, let me tell you how I mean. There are more live streaming shows on things like Netflix and all of those places, right? All of those live streaming places that have incorporated Celtic traditions or have made us aware of Celtic traditions, but they don't really say it. There's an energy that seems to be coming forward. And those of us that are taking it in seem to want more of.
Yeah, I've not noticed that actually, you know, and I've not been to the States for a long, long time. So I didn't know there was this kind of resurgence or interest in Celtic traditions. But, you know, the British Isles have been known to be magical islands for millennia. And people would come here for the unique magic that's held in the rivers and the trees and the unique otherworld connection that we have, and the nature spirits and the elves and the trolls. And, you know, so we have this really strong tradition of magic here. And so I'm not surprised that, you know, the magic spreads to around the globe at all. It's, yeah, it's a special place.
I'm telling you, it's popping up in our pop culture. I mean, you could see it everywhere. I mean, there hardly ever isn't something mythical now that has just been created that doesn't have reference to elves. I mean, even in the latest Disney movie, The Eternals, the end of the movie, they bring in an elf energy character. I mean, that's what I'm trying to say is we may not be acutely aware of it like you are, that that's what it is, but there is an energy. We want the magic, don't we?
Well, maybe Tolkien was right. And, you know, in Lord of the Rings, and, you know, that it's time for the elves and men to walk together again. And I think symbolically, this is saying that let's remember where we come from. Let's remember our mythological and magical selves and our connection to these magnificent beings, because we need this now. We need to remember who we are in this great time of transition.
Yeah, I just got a text message from one of our listeners. I'm just going to read it. Okay, Dr. Pat, truth be told, you're watching Witcher, aren't you?
I've seen that too.
You got me. Emma, thank you so much. One last question. Again, let us know how we can find out more about you. And I'd love to know your personal message. What do you want to leave us with today?
My personal message is that if you want to change your world, go within. The way out is the way in.
I love that.
Yeah. And yeah, you can find me at plantconsciousness.com.
Thank you so much. And everybody, the book, if you've just tuned in late, I just need to tell you, this is the book. It's available everywhere. And we'll make sure those of you that called in for the book, we will get this to you. Again, I want to thank you, Emma, for everything you're doing.
Thank you so much.
I want to thank our friends at Inner Traditions, Manzanita. Thank you again. And for all of you out there, you are the best audience on the planet. I hope there's something you heard today will help you rise up and will help you flourish. We'll see you next time.
Thank you so much.